"Forgive us our debts," or "Forgive us our trespasses." For years, I have been puzzling over the different versions of the Lord's Prayer in different Orthodox jurisdictions. In the first approximation, it appeared to me that more conservative congregations asked Our Father to forgive them their debts, while more progressive ones seemed more focused on their trespasses. This was only a guess based on a casual observation. But why should this be the case? And what did our good Lord actually teach his disciples to ask of the Father? Surely we are not free to reinterpret or to paraphrase as we see fit, based on personal preferences or cultural affinities. Either the Lord said debts, or he said trespasses. He did not say, "After this manner therefore pray ye, oh, just make something up." To be sure, in this context, the two words are roughly equivalent. Methinks all of us can approximately guess at what is meant by this petition. But why settle for rough equivalency? Is the original Greek word so obscure or polysemous, like the word logos, that a precise English translation is impossible? I finally decided to look into this problem. After all, as much as the two words are roughly similar in meaning, they are not identical. The task of tracking down the correct word did not prove to be particularly difficult. All of the Greek sources render the word in question as to ωπειλήματα, or debts, plural, and one variant found in the Didache is tin ωπειλήν, debt, singular. This meaning, debts, dues, that which is owed, is consistent throughout the text of the New Testament and appears to be uncontroversial among scholars. Matthew 18:32. Then his Lord summoned him and said to him, "You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt, ωπειλήν, because you besought me." Romans 13:7. Pay all of them their dues, ωπειλάς, taxes to whom taxes are due, revenue to whom revenue is due, respect to whom respect is due, honor to whom honor is due. Romans 4:4. Now to one who works, his wages are not reckoned as a gift, but as his due, ωπείλημα. 1 Corinthians 7:3. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, ωπειλήν, that which is due to her, and likewise the wife to her husband. It is clear that in none of these instances, the word can be replaced with anything resembling trespasses without producing nonsense. In other words, there seems to be no reason to render to ωπειλήματα in the Lord's Prayer as anything other than debts, at least as it is found in the Gospel of Matthew. In Luke, the word is tos amartias, or sins, and forgive us our sins as we forgive all which is owed to us, panti οφείλονται ημίν. Lucan edits are a fascinating topic in and of itself, and deserve a separate treatment in a future post. Here, we are concerned exclusively with the Matthean version used in Orthodox public and private prayer. The singular form, tin ωπειλήν, found in the Didache, is likely the original form of the Lord's Prayer. In other words, the original line probably was, "And forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors." Even more precisely, rather than forgive, the modern English version of aphes, aphiamen, could be rendered as release. And release us our debts as we release those indebted to us. As we will discuss below, this may not be a distinction without a difference. Perhaps the scribes thought that the plural debts better described our state of indebtedness before God, or perhaps they unintentionally harmonized the grammatical form to match the plural sins in Luke. It seems impossible to know why exactly the word took on the plural form. Nonetheless, the meaning debt or debts has been consistent in Matthew from the 1st until the 16th century. In 1526, in his translation, William Tyndale chose to replace debts with trespasses. This was not a scribal oversight. It was not a mistake made one sleepless night after too much fasting. Tyndale introduced this change very consciously and purposefully. It seems that he was not satisfied with the word debts as, perhaps, not elevated enough, and wished to emphasize the idea of forgiving moral trespasses in one's heart or mind, rather than the seemingly cruder act of releasing actual debts. Additionally, using trespasses in the Lord's Prayer harmonized the text with verses 14 and 15, which immediately follow. Tyndale quite literally took the word "paraptomata," trespasses, from Matthew 6:14 and pasted it into verse 12, in English, that is. The effrontery of someone dissatisfied with the words composed by the good Lord himself and offering a new and improved version of the Lord's Prayer is outside the scope of the present exploration. In 1549, Tyndale's innovation was adopted into the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. Tyndale's Trespasses have been a part of the Anglican tradition ever since and until this day. Eventually, the Roman Church followed the Anglicans in her English-language prayer, although naturally, the Latin Mass still uses the word debita. It is somewhat unclear why some in the Orthodox world accepted Tyndale's Trespasses. The Greeks know very well that this translation is incorrect, and the Russian translation mirrors the Greek text in a way similar to that of the English King James Version. Perhaps some converts to Orthodoxy brought the Anglican Trespasses with them into the Orthodox worship. This seems to be the most likely explanation for the distortion of the Lord's Prayer in some congregations. Yes, distortion is a very strong word, but I do insist on it. First, as I have already pointed out, this prayer is given to us by Christ himself. And while there are some variants between the extant manuscripts of the Gospel of Matthew, between Matthew and Luke, and between Matthew and the Didache, no variant uses paraptomata or trespasses. This appears to be a single-handed distortion or trespass against the text perpetrated by Tyndale. We may pray that our Father forgive Tyndale his trespasses, but I am aware of no compelling reason for us to follow in his steps. Second, in my opinion, a very strong case can be made that Christ demands action, not feeling. He does not want us to send thoughts and prayers to the needy. He wants us to feed and clothe them. Christ does not want us to merely say that we love our neighbor, or even to say anything at all. He wants us to act it. And when he taught us to pray, he wanted us to say that we release those who are indebted to us. At least, this is what he actually taught, according to the Gospel of Matthew. It is not difficult to imagine a situation in which I am able to forgive someone in my heart and yet demand restitution. With a heart filled with a feeling of forgiveness, I can demand that a debtor still repay a debt and that a trespasser be punished, even though I forgave both of them in my heart. To the best of my understanding of Christ's teaching, and based on the actual words of the Lord's Prayer, the Lord tells us to quite literally release debts and debtors. In Old English, phogifan meant to release, from for, away, and gaifan, to give. It is not impossible that even for Tyndale, to release was the primary meaning of forgive. In modern English, to forgive a debt can still be used to describe the act of releasing a debt regardless of how one feels about it. But methinks, in modern usage, the primary meaning of forgive came to be associated with feelings rather than actions. Thus, as we forgive those who trespass against us, may mean little more than sitting in one's parlour and trying not to be so upset with some poor wretch who may have said something unkind. As we release our debtors, on the other hand, is a call to direct and immediate action of actually releasing a debt, whether monetary or not, even if the debtor has not trespassed against us, whatever this is supposed to mean. To be sure, this is not the only thing that Christ taught. There are other teachings also, and there is Matthew 6:14. This fact, however, can hardly be a license to rewrite the Lord's Prayer to suit Tyndale's or anyone else's sensibilities. Christ said what he said, and attempting to improve on the words spoken directly by the Son of God may be a fool's errand.